Welcome to One More Thing. I'm Pastor Brett Watson, one of the teaching pastors here at Suncoast, and I'm joined by Pastor Troy Doucet, Dr. Troy Doucet. So this past Sunday, again, it's now my new favorite. And
Thanks,
I don't
man.
just say that. I really mean that. But this is a topic that's near and dear to me, right? Like, how many years now have I been complaining about the need to call out overly simplistic, popular American Christianity for its nonsensical kind of trappings.
Yeah, sort of like reductionist type views.
Yes. And get onto something, get past that so that we can get onto something that is genuinely more relational and therefore meaningful with God. And I know that takes a lot of getting past fears and the need for certainty and that sort of thing. And you did a great job talking about all that. I mark down each week where I think there's a moment for Suncoast Moments that we post online. And that moment, I think, came for me when you brought up the example of Jesus. You said, Jesus, an innocent man, faces the cross with love and forgiveness, offering such a powerful vision of life that can transform even the hearts of those men who put him there.
Yeah, man.
Dead on, man. I mean, this is the
Thanks,
essence of we talk about atonement theories, right?
Yeah.
The one consistent atonement theory that we see in the history of the church, as far as I've seen, is, goes by various names, I guess, but the moral example or the transformational example.
Yeah.
And this is it for me. I mean, this is what God accomplishes at the cross through Jesus.
Yeah. I think so. I think you can restructure that statement I made to fit any of those atonement theories, and it still puts you in a predicament of, am I following or am I really just a spectator? Because think like let's reframe that, what I said, as like the moral exemplar theory, right? Like Jesus, he comes to the cross full of love and forgiveness, giving a powerful vision of life that would even transform the hearts of the men who put him on it. Now think about that statement, but reframed with a substitutionary atonement theory. Like, just hear me out. I know we don't adhere to that, but Jesus is a man who dies on a cross to save the same dudes who nailed him to it. That's atonement theory. And if you hear that and you go, whoa, and that causes you to pause, then the same line of thinking applies regardless of the theory of atonement, is that Jesus is offering you something that transcends the comprehension of yourself, and that's what it's about. So you can hold to that atonement theory if you want. I'm going to disagree with you on other grounds, but here's the one ground where I'm going to just put that on the table and say, how you like them apples? Because when has that ever been American foreign policy? When has that been my individual moral policy? To die on a cross to save the same people who are nailing me to it. Brother, that's challenging regardless of your atonement theory. And even if I frame it in an exemplar theory, like he's offering a powerful vision that can change the hearts of men, even the ones who are nailing him to the cross. That is the essence. That is the heart of God, to say, what was the point? That was the point. I'm going to value reconciliation over judgment. And if I claim to desire to want to follow Christ, that is where I am going. That is, as I am going, I'm doing these things. But what happens, man, what we see over and over again, is that the sin of certainty creeps its way in. Because the way I frame that understanding of Jesus's approach to the cross is something that I think is beyond my, not just my ability to do, but it's beyond my own morality to do. It's like, these dudes are nailing me to the cross. Screw them, whatever the case may be. That's a judgment, right?
Yeah.
But how does Jesus even frame the non-judgmental response to that? He goes, Father, forgive them.
Yep.
They do not know. What do we call it when you don't know? You're not certain. Like, think about it. Even one of the Roman guys is like, wait, what? Surely this guy was innocent. Like, even that, I mean, dude, we have evidence in the text, at least in some way, that it did transform a person's heart. And that's what we do, man. But the thing is, like, evangelical theology is great at presenting these ideas in mass, right? Because we show up in big. But what we're doing here at Suncoast, man, I've thought a lot about this. We can't change that theology in mass, even though we have a big crowd of people. Dude, this type of work is individualized. It's relational. It is when you sit down with me over a coffee or a beer, or sit down with you over a coffee or beer, and you just kind of play into just the compatibility of what we teach with the real world. And one of the things I said, and you and I had a conversation about it, was, how does it make sense in any theological framework that my theology and my faith is founded upon this principle that I have to offer God something he never needed in order to receive something I've always had?
Yeah.
Like, dude, that is a logical question that I think that statement by itself blows, like the one about Jesus on the cross, blows your atonement theory out the water. This one blows your soteriological understanding out of the water.
Yeah.
And I think it bombarded people yesterday so much so that so many people came up to me after the service, Brett, and were like, I got to go watch this again. There's too much in there that just blew my mind about. Because I wasn't about deconstruction yesterday. I was about dismantling these
demolition.
Oh, dude, these premises that I find not only incompatible, but there's an incongruency, man. The pieces do not fit. Like, they just do not fit. It's not that we can't coexist. We obviously coexist with various theological understandings, but they do not fit at all with what I think is absolutely explicit in the teachings of Christ. And when you frame it in such a way that people go, say that again? And then the light bulb. And as teachers, man, this is what we live for, that light bulb coming on, man. So I think those two moments in attacking sort of the salvific understanding and then sort of the atonement understanding were two big sort of pieces of incompatibility I think I sort of exposed, man.
So what do you think is, well, let me ask it this way. What is the harm that's done by this oversimplistic approach to things, this reductionist approach that we see so common? And is there anything that's good about that reductionist approach?
That's a good question, man. I think
it's a question we should ask ourselves.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The harm is to what degree do we impose and enforce that theology? Whereas I find it oppressive, but even regimes of oppression have a way of sort of subliminally being oppressive without you. Like one of the things
it's hard to see when you're in it.
Karl Marx writes this many years ago, dude, and he has his problems with economic theory and utopianism, whatever. But he says the moment that the bourgeoisie can find a way, and dude, he writes this, it's beautiful. He goes, can find a way to keep the proletariat or the working class, if they can find a way to have them have access to ice cream and still work. Like, again, ice cream was a very, very expensive commodity. If I can find a way to feed the poor ice cream and keep them poor, but then get them still to work hard, we've won. I think there is, but you have to be subliminal in that, right? Mm-hmm. And in the same way, if there's a way I can get people to believe that this God who is love and compassionate, but will send you to this place. If you don't believe this, so therefore you gotta believe it. And the way we know you believe is because you fall in line. Right? So that's the harm. Now, is there any physical harm? No, dude. We're not talking about, like physical harm.
No.
But we're talking about a type of harm that is generating people fear. Because yesterday a lady comes up to me, she goes, "What? You don't believe the Bible is?" And she went into, and I went, "No, ma'am." And the look on her face was sort of like, it wasn't like she was disgusted, but she was like, how can someone, I've never met someone who claims to love God, which I do with all of my heart, who desires to follow Jesus with all of my heart, who desires to teach the way of Jesus with every fiber of my being, and who wants to proclaim the authentic message that God is love, but not hold that the Bible is inerrant and infallible and the authoritative word of God by which all of my faith and life should be based upon. Like, there was an incongruency there for her. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's the harm, is that if I feel like if I have to hold on to this in order to receive this, that can be harmful in some kind of ways, because as people grow and we ask the right questions and we understand that doubt and fear are not incompatible, they're actually very compatible. And I mean, even the name Israel means one who wrestles with God. Right. And the wrestling is like, God, why is this happening? Why is this going on? What is happening in my life? I don't really understand this. I don't really believe that. I don't really get this. And it's not like God is going, leave me alone. I'm feeling so insecure right now with your questionings.
Or you're really pissing me off. Right
You're really, now I'm going to burn everything down.
I'm going to burn you. Yeah.
But I think that's the harm, is that when I feel like I have to lose everything to start over. And that's just not fair. That's just not fair. Like, I have to live with this fear, like my family's going to disown me. My family's going to ostracize me. My family is not going to want to have anything to do with me if I say I no longer believe this. Like, dude, tell me that's not harmful in some particular way. Now, where is the good? Listen, man, there is something to be said about having a unit or a community of people who are on the same mission, right?
Yeah.
There's something good about that.
Yeah.
Where even my camera guys running the cameras know what we believe and believe the same thing. And there's something powerful about that, even in corporate America. Like, you want everybody going toward the same. And that's, I was
going to say, in corporate America, they shoot for that.
Dude, that is you want a culture that is speaking the same language. And that's fine. Yeah, there's something good about that. But I think there's also something very, there's beauty in diversity. Because, like, we have a staff who don't all speak the same theological language, who don't all agree on the same theological principles, but yet we have the best time together and we see lives changed. And so I think even what we do is good. So good would be that sort of relative term depending on what you're doing. But there is something good about people speaking the same language, going the same direction. Yeah. So,
and I think the specifically the reductionist approach is just easier to digest, right? People like to be told what to believe. I don't know that that's a good thing. I don't think it is, but if there's a way to convey the complexity of things without overwhelming people, who do not spend their free time wondering about different dimensions and spirituality, and you know what I mean? Because their lives are busy enough, right?
And what's funny is those who have that reductionist salvation approach, accept and believe equals salvation.
Right.
We'll say what we teach is too simplistic. That God loves everybody. And I went, well, it actually it's a bit more involved.
Yeah.
You know, because we have to. It's not very simple.
Yeah. No, you're right though. They would say that. And in a way, that's true. But how else do you convince? Never mind. It's because it's the truth.
That's right. That's right.
Just from every angle.
That's
It's
right.
just the truth. God is love, and if He's not, then why are we worshiping Him?
That's exactly right. You know, and it's easy to bring up hypotheticals or theoreticals about the most extreme. Because for me, it's the straw man, right? Extremism is the straw man argument for any sort of ideology you have.
And we have to watch that.
Yeah, so but I mean, that's why I use Bonhoeffer's quote. He says, judging others, even these Nazis, is incompatible with the love of God. That you don't get much more extreme than trying to understand how to love Nazis in Germany, right? And I don't know how. I don't. So I won't pretend to. But that's extreme. And in the same way, if God is love and, you know, the hopeful universalist salvation approach never gave me this sense of license to be licentious. It never did. Oh, there's no hell? Oh, I get to do whatever the hell I want. That was never the thought of my mind, that knowing God loved me and that He'll catch me upon my life ending and all these things. It never once said, well, now I can go do whatever I want to do. It was like, I got to tell everybody about this love. This is the love that transforms. When I fully awaken to this and embrace it and walk in it, I am changed forever. It didn't mean, oh, now I can go and
I got to tell others about this, and from my own experience and what I've witnessed in others who embrace this more universal love view of things, is I got to honor this God.
That's right. Absolutely.
Because, man, do I love this God.
That's it. Even with a good king, you'll have people who are antithetical to that message. And you'll have people who hear this understanding of God's love, and they're not being any place of eternal conscious torment, and they will go and say, well, this gives me a license to be free.
Of course there'll be some.
But I'm like,
I don't think that's the norm, though.
Yeah, but I think you have people who even believe in hell who still do that sort of thing.
Well, right, because they have another card out.
That's right, yeah.
Because
I've accepted Jesus.
Whatever the hell that means.
Right, yeah.
You know?
I've accepted Him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're offering God your agreement in order for His appeasement. Like, that's man, that's just an awful theology, man.
I totally agree. So thanks for calling this stuff out in a way that in my opinion, is done with class and and kindness.
Yeah.
Which I think is the needed approach.
Yeah, man.
Because whether we agree or disagree, there will be no genuine unity without diversity.
That's right.
And we are all in it together.
That's right on. Appreciate you, man.
All right. Likewise.